Hello everyone, this is Mohammed and today I'm going to talk about planning blank poker in crowd. Effort estimation is crucial for software project and planning poker is an effort estimation method. It's expert based and it's popular among agile development communities. A quick brief about planning poker. So when a team of developers get together, there's a deck of cards, each card has a number and the number represents the amount of effort. Usually the card number based on the Fibonacci series. There is other style using t-shirt sizes like small, large, X large. So it starts with a planning poker coordinator to explain the task in hand, and each team member pull a card, and then they reveal it in the same time. If the team select similar cards, let's say between 2 and 3, that's a consensus and they move on to another issue. If one team member or a couple of team members select extreme selection, let's say 20, they get a chance to explain and justify their selection. So the team get all together and or it's kind of synchronizing the team understanding. And then they take another round until they reach a consensus. As you can see, planning poker is in-person effort estimation method, and moving that to crowd is quite challenging. We've replaced the synchronous communication between team members to asynchronous communication between crowd workers, and we followed this flowchart. We started by recruiting crowd workers, and then we show the issue details, and then we ask the crowd workers to supply us with an estimate along with their justification. If the estimate is inconsistent with the other crowd worker estimates, then that's the end of round. Otherwise, we take another round. And then we show the previous efforts and justification to the crowd workers in the next round. And we do this until we reach to a maximum of 3 rounds or the crowd reach to a consensus. We need data to experiment with. There is scarcity of data set of software issues annotated with actual effort. And asking for expert estimation, this is a kind of another level of lecturing. Fortunately, we found some software open source communities keep logging their actual effort, and they annotate their issues with their estimate, including JBoss developer community, Apache, and Spring. So we've used the actual effort as ground truth and the expert estimate as baseline. 419 issues, and we filtered that down to 126. So we avoided any issues with actual effort less than 30 minutes or more than 2 weeks. Also, any issues with description less than 20 words. And finally, we avoided any issues with no comments, and we took that as an as a proxy to the engagement with the other team members with that issue. The crowd for a task, it's very important to think about quality, and having a proper quality model and quality control is crucial for a successful implementation. I'm not going to go into in details about the quality model. However, we're going to talk about some details of it. We've tracked the crowd behavior through their interaction with the UI. Also, we've trained a classifier on the justification being supplied by the crowd workers. The classifier being trained on data from pilot trials, and it achieved a score of 0.93. Now the result. We've received between 5 to 10 estimates for each round. Also, the proportion of rejected estimates roughly around 40%, and this is a huge enhancement of compared with the pilot trials, where the proportion of rejected estimate around 80%. And now we come to the main questions. Can crowd workers predict expert comparable effort or not? We will look to this, or we will answer this question from 4 perspectives. The first one is the correct only issues, and crowd were able to predict 7 issues, whereas the expert predicted 14 issues correctly, And as you can see, experts are by far better than crowd. However, if we want to take a more holistic approach and consider all the issues, we found expert and crowd predicted same estimates for 8 issues. Crowd were more accurate in 10 issues, and experts were more accurate in 12 issues. A third perspective is to take the statistical test of the MRI of crowd and expert. And we found there is no significant difference between the MRIs of expert or crowd. Finally, if we consider the accumulated MRI, we found crowd much better than expert. In fact, there is a 100% difference between them. Crowds tend to underestimate by category, and experts tend to overestimate by person hour. If we look to the efficiency data, it took between quarter to an hour to produce an estimate from crowd, and it cost around $2 by average. If we want to put this in context and compare it to expert, we assume a team of 5 developers to estimate 10 issues in 1 hour. The cost will be roughly around $20 for each issue. And the salary be calculated based on the average salary from salary.com. Finally, crowd provided us more than an estimate. They give us some insight about the issues or missing thing in the description. They also suggested a methodology or a tool to solve these issues. Finally, the future work, we plan to investigate the extent of obfuscating the issues, the description of the issues, so we can enable private company to use CVP. Currently, the concern about publishing their data and sensitive information about the software or the project they are working on to a public crowd. Also, we need to measure the specificity of an issues to an organization, and that will give us an indication how public crowd is suitable for such a task. And finally, we need to experiment with different sorts of crowd other than public crowd. For example, the enterprise employees. That's all for me. Thank you for your attention, and let's take some questions.
Hello again. Welcome to the last question and answer session paper of this session, which is planning poker in crowds, human computation. So Mohammed Alhamed from the University of Glasgow has joined us for this question and answer session. First of all, I would like to thank him for the great video we have just watched. And please make your question in the chat, and he will be glad to answer them. We have already a first question from Fatma Meabad. Okay, so thank you for your talk. The aim of planning poker and story points estimates is to raise good discussion among the team to understand the requirements. So the estimates are supposed to be meaningful to the team and help them align more being accurate. So how applicable is this to the real world working environment in your opinion?
Okay, thank you very much, Fatma, for the question. It's a really good one. As you mentioned, planning poker or in-person planning poker can be used for discussing the estimate and bringing the team all together on the same page. In the crowd version of planning poker, we focused on the first side of it, of the first benefit of planning poker, which is estimating or predicting the actual effort of software estimates. The discussion, we've kind of simulate the discussion loop in what we call it seed feeding loop in our experiment by taking the rationals or reasoning from each crowd worker and feed it back to the next to the next round of crowd workers. And by the end, we collect all these justification, which we call it. We assume it's like imitating the actual discussion, and present it in a log attached with that task to explain what kind of discussion has been raised around this task. The only difference, it's not only difference, but one big difference between the in-person and crowd planning poker, the communication happened synchronously, where in crowd planning poker, it's asynchronous communication. So it's like the crowd worker give us the rational and comments, and then we group them all together. We haven't applied this in real world, as you said. I mean, in an industry case or industry experiment, for the reason of data privacy. Commercial partner concern about private data in the task issue, so they want the issues they have for their software development. I hope that I have clarified the question.
Okay, thanks. You can make more questions. We still have 6 minutes. So the next question is from Barry Tabosi. So thank you for the talk. Interesting work. I wonder what was your ground truth when you computed the rate of the correctly estimated issues by your method? Was it the originally estimated story points or the actual story point effort of the issue updated after the issue was resolved?
Okay, this is thank you, Valid, for the question. Actually, when we collected the data, or when we built the data set, the open source communities, we search for issues that has two been logged by two features or by two information: actual effort and estimated effort. So we use the actual effort as our ground truth, and we've used the expert estimated effort as a baseline. So hopefully that answers your question, Valer.
Okay, thank you. Right. Another question would be, when do you consider more convenient to use crowd estimation, so this planning poker, rather than expert base?
Convenient, it depends on the context of the project, and it also depends on the task in hand. One of the future work we are planning to work on is the what we call a task specificity. So some tasks some tasks are very specific to the organization that no one in the public crowd, even with a crowd with some backgrounds in the same area, have knowledge about it. So such a task, the very specific task, we assume or we hypothesize these are an example of tasks that not really a good task for crowd sourcing. This is one thing. The other thing, it's really about the availability of experts. If you are running a large software system and you want to get and scalability is an issue for you, then crowd planning poker definitely can solve this for you. So if it's very specific, not suitable, crowd planning poker is not suitable. If scalability is an issue and you want to resolve it, then crowd planning poker can give some solution for that.
Great. Another question from Leandro Minku. How often open source projects have the actual story points?
Very rare, unfortunately. So you've touched a pain point. Most of the open source project they really don't annotate or document the actual effort. And talking about an expert estimate, this is like a different level of luxury. But recently, with the industry being interested in open source project, they kind of bringing with them the managerial styles, shall I say, or the managerial task, including effort estimation. So if let's say an industry, a company interested in an open source project, they must have some before establishing or working with that, they need to have some clear idea about the cost for the company using or working with that open source project. So currently, as I said, it's very rare to find the actual work. But as I can see it, it's kind of as a trend. Most of the projects start to annotate their task with actual, and some of them with even estimates.
Okay, so the last question would be, what are your plans for future work? So I think you commented something in the video about applying it in a company. Do you have already some protocols in place?
Yeah, that's what we are actually looking to work on in the future. We've tried this with one company already. However, due to the what we call it sensitive information in the data set related to that company, we could not really publish or talk about that experiment. And also, we've learned some lessons from these. We tend to do it again with a larger scale to just experiment the setting of crowd blank poker with industry partner.
Right. Okay, so thank you for all the questions of the audience. Also, Mohammed, for the excellent answers. I would like just to remind that even if this is finishing now, this question and answer session, there will be a discussion room. So if you are interested in discussing with Mohammed, please join it. There will be a pop-up appearing in your screen. Okay, so thanks again, and bye.
Thank you. See you later.